Hey, this is Charles Onyett with IGN. I'm here with Anthony Gallegos.
Hello.
And I'm checking out Alan Wake on PC here. This is pretty close to the start of the game. I'm going to skip through all of the cutscenes that pop up just because I don't want to give away any spoilers or anything like that. But this is Remedy's game that came out for Xbox 360 a while ago, and now it's finally coming to PC, even though it was initially announced for PC and then just kind of got quietly shelved and then became an Xbox 360 exclusive and then was re-announced for PC, and now I'm actually playing it. So.
The cool part is that when it's finally re-announced for PC, it didn't take that long between the announcement and now it's coming out February 16th.
Yeah, it'll be on Steam. I believe there's also a retail box version on the way, but it looks really nice. I mean, the 360 version looked, the lighting effects in particular were really impressive there. I'm just going to skip that. But I can give you a sense of what the customization options are for visuals in case you're curious. Graphics. So you've got standard stuff here, VSync, resolution. Go to the advanced options and you get actually a nice selection of sliders to play with here. In case you have performance issues or if you just don't like certain settings. You can go in there. And so I have everything basically cranked up at this point, and it's running really well. But the gameplay itself is mostly, it's not all that complex. It's not crazy over-the-top action like something like Max Payne that Remedy is also responsible for. It's more about sort of connecting together the story sections and giving you something entertaining to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the shooting isn't, it's somewhere in between the old Resident Evil games and the newest Resident Evil. It's not quite a shooter, but there is still a lot of fighting in this game.
Yeah, you will fight, and I think that depends on how much exploration you want to do. I know when Alan Wake was first announced, it was said, or there was talk of it being kind of an open world style of game. That is not what it wound up being. It's much more linear in its focus, although there are areas as you move through the game where you can walk off the straight path forward and find little collectibles and things like that. But it's mostly, if you don't care about collectibles and you just want to go straight forward and see more of the story. Oops, that was dumb.
Attacked by logs.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have run into that giant pile of logs that fell on me. But if you want to run through, you can bypass a lot of the collectibles and stuff like that and have a very linear game. There's always one correct path forward. The rest is just kind of extra exploration. I can show off one of the combat mechanics here, even though I don't have a flashlight or weapons yet. You have to dodge away from a lot of enemy attacks. So you control Alan Wake with WASD, and then you hit shift right before an enemy is about to attack, and you do this dodge mechanic, which is very important. This is only a single enemy, but later you will get ganged up on by quite a few, and they'll throw things at you in addition to try to hit you with axes. So that dodge thing becomes very important for surviving all the way through. Here I'm picking up batteries for my flashlight, and I think there are bullets here. Yeah, here we go.
I mean, your primary weapon, while you do use guns and stuff, your primary weapon is definitely light.
Yeah, your flashlight and also sources of light in the environment are very important for combat. You can just sort of move the flashlight around to light up the darkness, but it also has a gameplay effect, which you'll see in a second here, and I can amplify the flashlight by focusing it like this, which drains battery, which if I hit sorry, I'm about to get attacked by a tractor, but if you hit Q, there you see the flashlight refills, so that's why it's important to pick up batteries, because you'll always have...
Yeah, I mean, batteries will recharge on their own, but there are times where you're in more intense fights where you have to keep it focused that you'll want to use batteries.
Yeah, good thing I got out of that house there. It's not in very good shape right now. Kind of falling off a cliff a little bit. This effect where you see the fog rushing across the scene, that happens quite often. It basically means you're about to be attacked. That is your warning without the game, popping up a giant text message that says you're about to get beaten by shadow people with axes, which are pretty much what's going to attack me here. You see this ring around the guy. That's sort of his health bar.
It's like a shadow shield that you have to break through to make them vulnerable to normal bullets.
Yeah, and I like how it's actually incorporated in, like they didn't put a giant health bar on it. It's built into the game world, so it makes sense. It will deplete if you just shine the light regularly, but will go a lot faster if you amplify the light, and that becomes much more important as you fight more specialized enemy types that aren't just slow-moving guys like that with axes.
Alternatively, they also use environmental places where you can use the environment as a weapon against the guys that you're fighting.
That's true, and I could have done that right here. So this light will turn on for a limited time, and that has a much more powerful effect than my flashlight. These are the little exploration bits that I was talking about. If you actually take the time to explore every environment, your flashlight will illuminate little sections with arrows that lead to supply containers, which in this case has a flare gun, which normally you wouldn't think would be all that deadly compared to a pistol, but it's actually quite a bit better because enemies do respond to attacks with light. The flare gun is the equivalent of a grenade launcher, essentially. Even though it may not seem that way. You can see the PC interface set up here, where I can use the number keys to switch between weapons. I can also mouse wheel between them. If you don't like using mouse and keyboard, which if you still haven't played this game on 360 or you're playing it on PC, I don't see why that would be the case. But you can use a Xbox 360. There we go. He's throwing an axe. I probably should have dodged that.
I mean, it seems like a wired 360 controller works fine for it. I mean, because the game was originally released and designed around using a 360 controller.
Yeah, it does. It does actually work quite well with the 360 controller. And one thing I noticed that doesn't really work as well on PC is on 360, if you hold the trigger for aiming down, you can sort of get here, I'll skip that. You can get a half focus here so that you can point your gun, but you won't actually expend battery energy, whereas that doesn't seem to be the case here. I'm just right-clicking, and every time I go into this mode, I'm using battery power. Although I don't think aiming is really that big of a deal because your flashlight beam points to wherever you're going to shoot anyway. So it seems pretty straightforward in that regard, but it is a slight difference.
Yeah, and like I was saying, I think that it has to do with the pressure sensitivity of triggers versus a mouse has pretty much it's either on or off.
Yeah. And so this game, it's very story driven, even though you might know Remedy for heavy action. I enjoyed Alan Wake quite a bit when I played it on 360, and that was mostly because of the story. It reminded me a lot. I mean, I know people talk about Twin Peaks and everything like that. It reminded me a lot of a really good X-Files episode.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment as well. And to be fair, I think Remedy's past games, Max Payne, for all of their campiness, the stories in them were still better than a lot of their contemporary games. Yeah,
I would absolutely agree. The Remedy's games always have a lot of personality to them. I know I wouldn't have enjoyed Max Payne nearly as much if it didn't have those little comic book cutscenes to it with the absolutely over-the-top dialogue and voice acting. That was just it was a lot of fun to deal with. And that's the kind of humor you get here. I mean, it may seem from what you're seeing here kind of serious, but there's definitely a sense of humor throughout this whole thing. Very it's aware of the source material that it's pulling from.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a good film in the sense that it has some really intense parts that are very serious, but then it also has characters that are provided for comic relief and to bring levity to certain situations.
Yeah, and you see the arrows again pointing to supplies that I'm not going to go towards. I'm actually going to try out the flare gun here if I.
Yeah, it's the only game where a flare gun becomes useful as a awesome combat weapon.
The staircase was broken.
Yeah, the checkpoints are actually lights. So I'm trying to get towards these light sources up here. Those are situated all throughout the game that you basically hide in, and if you're under a direct light source, then usually you're safe.
And you also regen health.
Yeah, your health will come back. So light again.
This game is a great advertisement for Energizer batteries.
Yeah, there are so many Energizer ads in this game. It's actually pretty distracting. You also get little Easter egg story bits like TV sets and radios that you can turn on to watch just silly little bits of story.
Yeah,
that's a very Remedy-like thing.
They did a whole series of tiny little 2-minute episodes of a show called Night Springs that is done just for this, and they're throughout the whole game where you get to watch them.
All right, there's the flare gun, as you can see. Oh, I didn't kill everyone.
Oh, you got 2 of them, though. It's basically like an area of effect bomb. It's like a grenade.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even need you to shoot them afterwards. It'll often just kill them outright. But throughout the game, you'll get that. You'll get regular flares that you can just light and drop behind you, kind of to cover your tracks. Obviously, you get more projectile weapons like shotguns.
So I've got the generator on. It's running now. Had to do a little mini game there that's pretty simple. And I'm running back through this log yard. I do have my shotgun now, so I have a little bit more stopping power. Shotguns, at least against really weak enemies, are pretty much one-hit kills once you tear down their shadow shield. Oh, here we go. I have to move some logs. Puzzle solving here.
Hold the arrow in one direction.
Hold D key. All right, I win. Whoop. Did I go too far?
No, I think you're.
I don't think I messed that up. As an example of collectibles, I don't know if I can get under this thing. Yeah. Coffee thermos, of course, Pacific Northwest writer. Alan Wake is a writer, by the way. He's working on a novel, and that winds up creating some issues for him as you play through the game. But again, I don't want to say too much about that because I feel like story is pretty integral to this experience.
For a writer, though, he's a pretty big thug.
Yeah.
He's rolling around with a shotgun.
Oh my
one-handed.
God. Fail. He's terrible at platforming. Writers are notoriously terrible at platforming. I think that's pretty well known. Although they are very good at wearing hoodie blazers, which he rocks throughout the entirety of his adventure here.
That's how you know that he's not your typical action hero. Though, like I said, he holds that shotgun with one hand like a champ.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing with that shotgun. He's got the finger on the trigger. He is ready. Oh my God! Get! Oh my God! I think I'm gonna have to move this. I'm so terrible at this. Here we go.
So in reality, the puzzles are much more difficult than we originally gave them credit for.
Clearly, the difficulty has been ramped up significantly on the PC version.
Are there other differences besides graphical options for the PC version?
Well, the control options and things like that, you do get I did move it too far. If you get the PC version, you get 2 pieces of downloadable content with it that extend the storyline.
Okay, the stuff that 360 owners got over time.
Yeah. So, and the way the game is actually set up is it plays out like TV episodes. So each episode, basically chunk of story, is about I don't know. I want to say like an hour-ish or something.
Yeah.
It's not a really long game. But then again, none of Remedy's games have ever been particularly long. You sort of complete an episode like you would like a television episode. So then you get a title screen and a song plays, and then when the next episode starts up, it says, previously on Alan Wake, and gives you a little bit of a recap. So it's a creative style of presentation that you don't see in most games, and it's not just a straight-through storyline. I should be heading into sort of one of the infinite woods sections here as soon as I'm just sort of waiting for the clouds to start rushing.
Here we go.
Are they moving? Okay, so here we go. We've got moving clouds, and this is one of the quote-unquote open sections of the game where enemies will just keep spawning as long as you're in the zone. So it's basically to provide challenge while you're looking around for collectibles and things like that. Please die. There we go.
But here we do see an example of how much more difficult it can be when you have to manage multiple enemies at once.
Yeah, and you get these little... Here, I think there's a mini game. Oop, that's not going to work. Please get away from that, Alan. Disengage. Yeah, I wish I had some flares. Those are actually pretty good. And I'm out of flashlights, so I'll just replenish that and shoot him. But the enemies will come back, so I get a little bit of breathing room here while I try and start this generator. And then what this generator does is it just serves as a nice safe zone, health replenish zone, while the enemies are still out in the open. But they will come back once I get out of there and I start moving towards the gas station that is my eventual goal. Somewhere. Oop, I found a coffee thermos.
Coffee thermos.
Yeah, very important. Alan Wake drinks lots of coffee. Here, I'll take this guy out. Oh God. But yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a challenge, and you can crank the difficulty up if you'd like it to be more challenging, right from the beginning, I believe. There we go. So I'm not going to play this entire chapter, but I think that gives you an overall sense of how this game plays. And yeah, it's not huge on the combat, but you do quite a bit of it. If you choose to stay in these sort of open wood sections for a while, you'll notice that, yeah, they'll just keep spawning. And the enemy types do evolve over time, so you get different sorts of challenges throughout the rest of the game. But yeah, Alan Wake is out soon on Steam on PC, so if you want to check it out and get more info on it, you can just head over to IGN.com.